Soil. Soil is the thin uppermost layer of the earth's crust in which plants grow. It is a mixture of minerals, organic matter, air, and water which supports the growth of plants. Soil contains nutrients and water necessary for life. It is a home for many living organisms like beetles, mites, earthworms, millipedes, centipedes, ants, termites, snakes, mice, etc. All these living organisms break down the dead remains of plants and animals and help in recycling of nutrients in soil. The farmers grow crops in soil. We use these crops as our food. In addition, soil has many other uses such as making pots, buildings, huts, etc. Formation of soil. The soil is formed by weathering. When rocks are broken down by the action of wind, water, and climate, it is called weathering. Soil is formed over a long period of time by a number of factors. It can take up to 1000 years for just an inch of soil to form. The characteristic features of a soil depend upon the rocks from which it has been formed and the kinds of plants that grow in it. The weathering of rocks occurs in three ways, that is, physical weathering, chemical weathering, and biological weathering. Physical weathering, the kind of weathering where the nature of soil is not changed, is called physical weathering. The factors responsible for physical weathering are water, wind, and temperature. Water. When water flows down the mountain slopes, it carries loose rocks with it. The moving rocks hit other rocks on the way. The fine particles that chip away from the rocks eventually get deposited on the riverbeds as soil. In winter, in cold regions, water gets trapped inside the small cracks and crevices in rocks. Due to freezing of water, the cracks in the rocks become wider. The freezed water, that is, ice, melts in warmer weather. This process takes place repeatedly over time and eventually the rock breaks into smaller pieces. Wind. When wind blows at high speeds in the mountains, loose rocks slide down the slopes. They hit other rocks and break into smaller pieces. These small pieces and sand that is blown by the wind chip away from the rock and form fine particles. The wind carries these fine particles and deposits them as soil. Temperature changes. During the warm day, the layers inside the rock expands. Similarly, during the cool night, the rock layers contracts. This causes the rock to weaken and develop cracks. Eventually, the rock breaks under the effect of wind or flowing water and forms pebbles and soil. Chemical weathering. In chemical weathering, chemical reactions between substances in the rock and the air or water result in the breaking up of the rock. The substances that make up the rock may react with the oxygen or carbon dioxide present in air and water to form the fine particles of rocks that can be easily broken away or dissolved by rainwater. Biological weathering. Biological weathering means organic weathering. It is the breakdown of rocks as a result of the action by living organisms. The plants and animals have a significant effect on the rocks as they penetrate or burrow into the soil, respectively. Some plants and trees grow on rocks and their roots penetrate into the soil. As their roots grow bigger, they exert pressure on rocks and make the cracks wider and deeper. It weakens and eventually breaks the rocks. There are many small animals that bore a hole into the rock and live inside it. Over time, they burrow and they widen the cracks. There are bacteria, algae, and lichens which also break down the rocks on which they survive to get the nutrients they need. They produce acids which convert some of the rocks to clay. Humans are also responsible for biological weathering. As we construct more homes, industries, dams, power plants, roads, we break the rocks which later convert into soil. Some other factors involved in soil formation, the other factors that help soil to form are topography. This is the slope of the surface of land where the soil is forming. Climate, the overall climate and weather where the soil is forming. Parent material, the parent material in the minerals and rocks that are slowly breaking to form the soil. Soil profile. A vertical section that shows different layers of soil is called a soil profile. Each layer is called a horizon. Trying to observe the sides of a ditch that has recently been dug up, you will see that the soil forms the layers of particles of different sizes. Each layer is different from the other in texture, color, and chemical composition. The layers of soil are termed as horizons. Horizons of soil are categorized into following four types: A horizon, B horizon, C horizon, and bedrock. A horizon. The top layer of soil is called A horizon. It is also called topsoil. A horizon is generally dark in color. It is rich in humus. The A horizon is generally soft and porous. It retains more water. Roots of small plants are entirely embedded in topsoil. The topsoil also provides shelter to many living organisms such as worms, insects, moles, rats, snakes, etc. B horizon. The next layer of the soil from top is called B horizon. The layer is harder and more compact than the topsoil. This is generally known as the middle layer of soil. This is less rich in humus, which contains most of the minerals present in the soil. C horizon. The third layer of soil is known as C horizon. C horizon is made of small lumps of rocks with cracks and crevices. Bedrock. The layer below the sea horizon is known as bedrock. It is several feet below the surface. Bedrock is composed of large, solid rocks and is hard to dig. Composition of soil. Soil is a mixture of varying proportion of organic matter called humus and other materials derived from the weathering of rocks. These constituents of soil play a role in fertility of the soil. The main constituents of soil are humus. When the plants and animals die, their dead remains are degraded by a number of microorganisms and finally decomposed into dark-colored jelly-like simple organic compounds called humus. Humus makes the soil fertile and provides nutrients to the plants. Living organisms. The organisms present in the soil are called soil organisms, which include bacteria, algae, plants' roots, insects, mites, earthworms, etc. Some organisms make the soil fertile. For example, rhizobium bacteria that live in root nodules, while some cause injuries to the plants, such as certain insects and rodents. Mineral particles. The mineral particles are derived from the parent rocks and represent about 90% of the total weight of the soil. The important elements found in the soil are Si, Fe, Al, Na, K, Mg, C, etc. Water and air. Water and air present in the soil form the soil atmosphere, which are the most important components of the soil. These are present in the spaces between the soil particles called pore spaces. Nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide are the three main gases present in the soil. Types of soil. The size of particles of soil is very important to determine the properties of soil. So, the soil are characterized mainly in the three types based on the proportion of size of particles. These are sandy soil, clayey soil, and loamy soil. Sandy soil. The particles of sandy soil are larger in size. This is the reason that it cannot retain water. It consists of small particles of weathered rock. Sandy soils are one of the poorest types of soil for growing plants because of poor water retaining capacity. This type of soil is very good for the drainage system. Water drains quickly through the sandy soil, so this soil is also well aerated, light, and dry. Clayey soil. The particles of clay soil are very small in size. These are tightly packed together with each other with very little or no air space. This soil has a very good water storage quality, which makes it hard for moisture and air to penetrate into it. It is very sticky to the touch when wet, but smooth when dried. Clay is the densest and heaviest type of soil which do not drain well or provide space for plants' roots to grow. However, paddy and cotton plants grow well in this type of soil. Loamy soil. The particles of loamy soil are smaller than sand and larger than clay. Loamy soil is the mixture of sandy soil, clayey soil, and silt. Silt is the deposit in riverbeds. This soil has right water holding capacity and is well aerated. Therefore, the loamy soil is best for the growth of plants. Properties of soil. The soil has space between its particles, which is called pore space. It is a very important property of soil. The properties of soil depend on the pore space of a particular type of soil. Absorption of water. The different soil absorbs different amount of water. Clayey soil absorbs the highest amount of water because of its higher water retention capacity. On the other hand, sandy soil absorbs the least amount of water because of its lower water retention capacity. Percolation rate of water. The passing of a liquid or a gas through a porous material is called percolation. The amount of water drained through water in unit time is known as percolation rate of water in soil. It can be calculated using the formula percolation rate ml per minute is equal to amount of water in ml per time taken to percolate. The percolation rate of water in sandy soil is fastest and in clayey soil is slowest. Moisture present in soil. The amount of water present in soil is called moisture present in soil. The clayey soil has highest moisture and in sandy soil it is lowest. Air in soil. The space between soil particles is filled with air which is used in the soil organisms. The roots of plants also take in air from soil for breathing. If the roots will not get air, the plant may not survive. The soil which gets waterlogged does not contain air. Soil suitability for crops. Soil fertility refers to the capacity of the soil to provide nutrients in adequate amounts for the growth of plants. For a soil to be fertile, other growth factors such as light, moisture, and temperature should also be favorable. To make the soil more fertile, some adjustments are done to its property. These adjustments are alteration of pH, alteration of air content, aeration, addition of fertilizers. Acidity or alkalinity, pH of soil affects the ability of plant roots to take up minerals from the soil. A fertile soil should have somewhat neutral pH. Lime or calcium carbonate is added to the acidic soils to make it more alkaline. Peat is added to alkaline soils to make the soil more acidic. Soil with a low air content and high water content is heavy and difficult to work. It can be improved by drainage of water of a given area and by plowing. Fertilizers are added to soil which have low mineral content such as nitrate, phosphate, potassium, and magnesium. Soil erosion. The removal of topsoil by weathering agents such as wind, water, and ice is called soil erosion. Soil erosion affects the fertility of the soil, as humus present in the soil is eroded along with soil. Soil erosion occurs in almost all types of lands. The flowing water, rainwater, cutting of trees, and the wind are the main factors which cause a significant amount of soil loss each year. Too much of a soil erosion causes serious loss of topsoil and also reduces crop production. Lower surface water quality. It is important to prevent soil erosion by special conservation. The various causes of soil erosion are: soil present in a steeper slope have more chances of flowing away. If rain is heavy, soil erosion is more. Agricultural practices, deforestation, construction of roads, urbanization, and global warming also contribute to soil erosion. Due to increasing land demand, the forests are cut in large scale. This leads to deforestation. Tree roots act as a binder of the top layer of the soil. In the absence of trees, the land becomes barren and erodes easily. Soil conservation. The fertile topsoil gets blown away when the land gets barren. This occurs due to large-scale cutting of trees or overgrazing of an area. So, it becomes necessary to conserve the soil. The practice of protecting soil from erosion and maintaining its quality is called soil conversion. Soil can be conserved by following some preventive measures. Afforestation or planting of trees can prevent soil erosion. Trees serve as wild breaks and as soil covers. They slow down the erosion of soil. Farmers should plant trees between their fields and on uncultivated land. Terrace farming is done by building steps or flat rows called terraces on hillsides to prevent the topsoil from being washed away. Preventing overgrazing by animals can help prevent erosion. Building check dams to control floods also helps in conserving soil. The fertility of the soil can also be prepared by the rotation of crops and by adding manure to it. Soil pollution. The addition of harmful or toxic substances to the soil which decreases its fertility is called soil pollution. Soil can get polluted by various means, included careless human activities. Acid rain and acid water from factories, mines, and industries. Improper dumping of garbage and sewage waste in soil. Excessive use of pesticides and fertilizers. Waste materials such as plastic and metals which do not decay easily. Effects of soil pollution. The soil pollution leads to the following harmful effects. Soil fertility declines. Chemical absorbed into the soil are also absorbed by the plants. These plants, when consumed by animals, also get contaminated